Hey guys, Scott Albrecht from IceFishOhio.com. I'm here to talk to you about lazy ice fishing. That's right, it's okay to be lazy on the ice. I am a husband, father, and my job at work is very demanding. So when I do get the opportunity to go out, I usually don't have a full day to try to figure out the game plan for where the fish are and then start to catch fish. A lot of guys go out and the trend has been pack light, drill a lot of holes. Once you find the fish, catch your fish. I find that as I try to copy that method, I'm drilling more holes than I am catching fish. And so, because I have sometimes as little as 4 hours to ice fish, and because in Ohio we do ice fish, but it's a limited season, my strategies are a little bit different. So what I'm going to share with you today is how I ice fish in Ohio and make the best out of my 4 hours on the ice as I can. And I like to call it lazy ice fishing. It first starts with location, and then it's all about bringing the fish to you. And we do that in a number of different ways: sound, vibration, sight, and smell. Before we talk about how you can bring the fish to you, it's important that you set up in the right spot. You can do all the things that you want to do to call fish to you, but the general rule of thumb is that 100% of the fish are in 10% of the lake. And so you need to figure out where that 10% is. So the first thing you want to do is call the local bait shops. Never a bad idea. Now the problem with calling a local bait shop is you're going to figure out where the fish were 2 to 3 days ago. Okay? Very rarely are you going to find a hot bite that lasted more than 2 days in the exact same spot. The biggest problem with fish is that they swim. Okay? They swim. So if they're biting real hot and heavy in one spot one day, next day they might still be biting pretty hot and heavy. They just might not be in the same spot. Good news about fish and their migration patterns is it all depends on temperature. So if it's been really, really, really cold out, they might not have moved very far, because most likely they didn't have an opportunity to move very far because it was really, 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 really cold out. So calling the bait shops, getting the fishing reports for the lake that you're planning on fishing will at least tell you where the fish were 2 to 3 days ago, and that's a good starting point. Once you figured that out, it's a good thing to have a lake map. What you want to do is you want to look for things like weed lines, channels. In Ohio, it's a little bit easier because almost all of our lakes are man-made. So you have a couple of things in common. You have a lot of current in the main channels, but not a lot of current in the little coves and little dips and divvies. So most of those things are in some of the lakes that are really, really muddy and really shallow. DNR has to go in and dredge out channels every year. And so having a contact at the DNR with a lake map, and kind of using those two things side by side, is going to help you figure out where the newest channels have just been dredged and where the deepest holes are. And so typically with that information, where the fish have been biting, what type of structures in that lake, and what kind of weed cover and what kind of weed lines I can fish, and also where those channels are at and where those deep holes are at, kind of gives me an indication. If I set up in one place where I know that bait fish are moving in and out of every day, and that bigger fish are following those bait fish, what I can do is, if I've got 4 hours to fish, I'm going to set up right in the middle. Okay, I'm going to set up right in the middle. I'll drill holes all around the edges of that area. And to be honest, before I ever set up my entire show on ice, as I like to call it, I will try to find a fish. If I can find a biting fish, I'll set up. And what I do once I set up is it's a party on ice. I'll tell you guys. I set up the big shanty. I've got the lawn chairs, the Mr. Buddy. Sometimes we have the radio kicking, sometimes we don't, depending on what time of the year it is. I know first ice, you get the shallow bite, and those fish are so skittish, we got to get the 36-inch rods out and fish from afar. But I can tell you, when I'm on the ice, it's half social, half science. I'm definitely there to catch fish, but I usually have a couple of newbies with me. I'm there to teach them how to ice fish and how to have fun on the ice and do it safely. And so I try to make it a good experience for them. So that includes bringing a lot of gear. And so packing up and moving to a different location can sometimes take 30 minutes to an hour, depending on how far that location is. So we do try to pick a spot, stick with it, and use those 4 hours in that spot to draw the fish to us, which gives me to part 2, chapter 2 of this video, which is drawing the fish to you. So we talked about a couple of things: smell, sight, sound, and vibration. Sight. So one of my sponsors is the green magnet. Green magnet puts off a light that is green. Pretty simple. This is a submersible light that you can hook up to a 12-volt battery. Simple, same battery you'd put into your lawnmower. Very easy to plug into. Also has an AC socket if you want to do that, or a 10V for your car. But awesome product. They figured out that green lights attract bugs. So all the little creepy crawly things that panfish love to eat in the wintertime, and walleye do too. Once you put that green magnet in there, bugs start coming out of the bottom of the sediment, and once that starts to happen, fish have linear lines on their bodies to indicate something is rising vertically in the water column, and they come check it out. In addition to that, what I like to do is I like to put something like a PK lure. They have a PK lure spoon, PK spoon, and they also have a lot of new lines that are coming out that put off so much vibration that you can actually throw it in the water, and the flutter spoon's a great example. You just rip it up and let it just flutter down, and that vibration, that kind of up and down movement, we like to call ringing the dinner bell. I can't tell you where that phrase came from in the ice fishing industry. I'm stealing it. I apologize. But ringing the dinner bell is simply a vertical presentation, and you know what? If the fish aren't right underneath you, you can make that stroke as high and as low as you want to call fish from afar. Either they're going to see the flash of that lure, and PK Lures does a great job of having a lot of flash to their lures, or they're going to feel the vibration of that lure fluttering up and fluttering down. So that's ringing the dinner bell. And then the final piece of the puzzle is fish like fish. Okay? They like to figure out where other fish are at, because those other fish are probably there for a reason. And Bite Master makes fish decoys that look spot on, so much so that there's video out there, you should probably YouTube it, of fish coming up to Bite Master decoys, taking a look at them, and then just turning and sitting side by side to that decoy as if it was a part of the school that fish belongs to. Crazy videos out there. Perch, walleye, salmon, crappie, just coming up right to these pictures. It's just a simple picture, and pretending like he's a part of the family. Maybe he's checking out, is this fish feeding? Is this an opportunity for me to eat another meal? Probably that's what's going on into the pea-sized size of that brain in that fish's head. But it's awesome. If you get the light in there, if you got the vibration of you jigging vertically, and you've got the actual decoy set up, it's a great opportunity. And then what I typically do, if I have the opportunity, I'll bait the water. Blood in the water always works. Not actual blood, although you can do that. Take a little minnow, pinch it off, make all of its guts and nastiness go everywhere. Throw that in. Yum and Gulp had the sprays. I just undo the cap and doop, 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 into the water. Take my waxies and just bait the water. And then the last piece is Fish Bomb. Fish Bomb has this new thing, trigger release. You can actually lock it in, tie it to a line, put a swivel on it, put an actual weight on that, and lower it down your hole, and it puts off all this great goodness into the water that fish can smell from couple 100 feet away and come in and check out what's going on. So it's called lazy ice fishing. I'm not gonna lie. I am not a drill 100 holes per day kind of guy. I think that there's a time and a place for everything, and those guys do catch a lot of fish. I do too, and I find that if I have 4 hours to fish, I usually can spend it better if I'm in a spot where I think there are fish. If I can draw those fish in, I'm going to be much better off than if I'm packing up all my gear and moving every couple of hours. When you're teaching new guys how to fish on the ice, it's very important that you have a good time, and a lot of it's luck, a lot of it's praying, and if you get on the fish, it's a great time. So hopefully this will help you out next season, and stay tuned for more tips and tricks from Scott Albrecht here at icefishohio.com.